Thank you, Dr. Werner, for the kind introduction and the team. I'll be talking about strengthening the National Animal Genetic Resources Center and Data Bank, competitiveness for sustainable animal breeding program in Uganda. In the morning, we heard more about ICT, technology, cybersecurity. Now we'll be tilting the mind to animal breeding. Part of the product is what you had this morning in the sandwich. I'll give you an introduction, the mandate of my center, which is the center responsible for genetics. I'll highlight a few issues to do with what we do in form of materials. I'll give a bit of results and the kind of dissemination. Because as WAAD, we have to change lives. We have to impact on the community, but also to be initiative-driven. This center is located all over Uganda. Uganda is in the Eastern Africa, and it has about 450 staff. It also hosts the National Bull Stud, which is responsible for production of semen. And it is also, recently, we have been given a center as a sub-regional gene bank to conserve indigenous animal genetic resources for 13 countries of Eastern Africa. And this is how Uganda looks like. If you have a map of Africa, and that's how it looks, and the center is distributed in red all over the Eastern, Western, and these are the countries we coordinate: Tanzania, Ethiopia, Somalia, Djibouti, to mention a few. There are 13 countries. Now, the mandate is two. One, commercialization role of animal breeding activities, but also mainly development activities in genetic improvement. The vision is clear. The vision of the center is to be a leader in profitable production and efficiency of animal genetic resources. When we are talking about animal genetic resources, we are talking about cattle, goats, pigs, chicken, all those rabbits, those that can be consumed. The mission and vision have articulated it. We have four forecasts. One is genetic improvement. Another one is conservation. You know, in Africa, we have our indigenous breeds. We have to conserve them. And we want to call on WAAD to come promptly to conserve these indigenous breeds in Nigeria, in Botswana, in South Africa, in Uganda, everywhere. Institutional capacity, but also to reach, which is in line with our WAAD objectives, to impact lives on the community, and also national information resource, which has been well articulated in the morning. Now, what are the constraints? The constraint in the region and Africa is that the productivity of these animals are very low, and also we have unstructured breeding. People just get in high-grade animals and put it, and they do indiscriminate breeding, and they poor access to these breeds, but also there are numerous pests and diseases, and also the way they are fed poorly, and the knowledge and skills. So as WAAD, we have a lot to do to tackle those key areas I've highlighted. There is constraints. But also on conservation side, some of these gene pool are reducing because we have a lot of crossbreeding. But also the breeding lines are not clear, and the global trade on some of these are very, very, very high, and they are threatened. Now, we definitely had to now rethink and say, how do we address all those numerous challenges? Because one, population is increasing. Uganda's population now is about 45 million in an area of 245,000 square kilometers. East Africa by 2020 is going to be about 457 million people, and Africa is going to be about 1.35 billion, which is almost about 20% of the world population. So you can see, therefore, the demand for food, the demand for all these products will be needed. And our president, Okoro, articulated this with poverty, hunger, and so forth very, very well. So the community approach, breeding approach, is what we introduced. What does it entail? It entails us to holistically go to the community, address all those concerns of nutrition, health, and record keeping. But this approach is not only in Africa, it has also been working in Brazil, in Israel, especially with the kibbutz, Mexico, Bolivia, and Peru. So it has been done elsewhere and success. What does it require? It requires that our center, therefore, has a nucleus arrangement and works closely with the farmers, the small farmers, the medium-scale farmers, the large-scale farmers, and all. And they coordinate a coordinated breeding for milk and for beef and for kind of improved trade we want. So that is how the arrangement is. The center also is now positioned all over the country, and it helps to serve the community in terms of semen, in terms of embryos, and improving the livestock productivity. And one of the issues is distribution of this important aspect, liquid nitrogen, which we produce at the center, and it is distributed. So there are also issues to do with supply chain. How do we improve the efficiency? So that's where we need innovation. Like, for example, we need the technology. If the farmer is in the rural, maybe 400, 500 kilometers, can we use ICT, like you have been telling us, to make a probe to the center and immediately the liquid nitrogen? So as WAAD, we really need your skill in how do we then distribute this efficiently and effectively so that we impact on the lives of the farmers. So it involves selection of the participants, training them, screening the animals. Later, Professor Charles will be talking to you about trips so that they are free, and also do pregnancy diagnosis. We prepare them. Much as you talk about synchronization in ICT, synchronization is a very key thing in animal breeding. What it means is that you get maybe 200, 300 animals, put them on hormones, they come on heat, and you inseminate them at the same time so that you can get babies, little ones, more or less within the 1 week. That is what we call synchronization in biology, but it could be a different thing in ICT. So we also have synchronization, and then training and retooling the AI technicians and equipping them. So what did we achieve during this pilot initiative? We managed to target 3,000 animals. The nuclear centers are established. Retooling has been done for these technicians, and they're deployed in the various local governments in the various regions of the country. And we expect that with this effort we are putting, especially for cattle, the productivity is low that an average cow within 24 to 36, within 2 to 3 years will weigh only 150. So we hope with this improvement, we'll increase the productivity to 350, but also reduce the age at which they mature to 18 months, from 24, 36 to 18. And increase the milk from 8 to 15 liters to 30 liters with this approach. So which means that the farmer with a single animal can earn more. So that is how we can change the life of these smallholders. So the strategy, therefore, involves goats. We have our Mbende goats. How do we improve them? The small East African goats, how do we improve them? The Chigezi goats, how do we improve them? And the cryopreservation of them so that they don't disappear. Because with crossbreeding, they are likely to disappear using the various conservation approaches. And also identifying suitable ones and making sure that their materials, embryos are collected and stored. And then embarking on outreach. The outreach involves ambulatory, mobile. You move to the community. You don't stay in the city or at the center. You go to the city, you go to the community, and you dialogue with them and comprehensively address the areas of management that tackle, and also the regional centers. So in this sense, there are a lot of gaps in terms of how to improve efficiency and coordination. ICT comes in place. I will later talk about where role now WAAD can play, and the scaling and the distribution. So how do we improve efficiency at that? The aspect of research is there. because we have new protocols for synchronization, we need to do more. We have done one with one of the companies. Siva is a French company, and we have come up with, for example, screening for vectors and parasites like trypanosomes, and also doing what we call body condition scoring to make sure the animals are good, to improve the efficiency. So with that kind of research and ongoing, and then where WAAD comes in, how do we adopt these technologies, like from Canada, from US, from UK, and so forth, and then customize in the developing country context. And then the nutrition aspect and the infrastructure, which therefore means that with a little effort, if you see, for example, 2008 cattle population in some of these areas and goats, you see the blue one is of 2008, the red one is 2009, and the green one goats, and the purple, if it appears. So you see there is an upward increase in terms of numbers, but also in terms of quality, it is improving. Now, with this approach, we are able to open the eyes, because part of our effort is to galvanize efforts. With this approach and coordinated move, we are able to open the eyes of the stakeholders and decision makers. For the last 10 years, the center has been having 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, and by 17, 18, when we met, it was almost having only about 10, 14 billion Uganda shillings, which is just about $2 million to fund its activities countrywide. But with this approach of community breeding and this reform, and with the innovations we have got from WAAD, for the coming financial year starting July 19, this reform has enabled the entity to, its budget to go to about 63 billion, which means now we can now up our game to impact more on the livelihood. This is due to the drive and the innovations we have been able to get from our interactions and networking and collaborations. So which means now, from the perspective of driving these initiatives, we need to collaborate and strengthen our partnership with the breed associations, with the research, with the university, with the WAAD, and where you are. How do you, for example, help the developing countries in breeding using ICT, which is not cyber attacked, and so forth and so on. So that is it, and some other innovations. So what are the opportunities? The opportunities are the markets, the center, the technical support, and the research, and networks from WAAD, exactly. What are the challenges? Of course, underfunding. There are issues to do with the low level of digitalization of our program. ICT platforms are still low. And you know, most of our programs now should be ICT-driven and lack of sophistication. And diseases, which we can monitor. So if we have ICT platform which can monitor, for example, occurrence of disease and also report. So this is where we need to build synergy with most of you where you are. Like the young professor who was here, how can we have innovations to do that? Now, we also do assess, like our pasture status are not very good. Some are degraded and so forth, as you can see. And we have to improve them. And even network and see, like in Brazil, the other day I mentioned how they are very good bracharia. How do we then get them? And other places. These are the goals we are talking about, and there are so many in other countries. We need to protect them so that we don't lose them. Because they are indigenous, but high quality in terms of tolerance, in terms of disease resistance, and they also don't consume too much. So these are the ones. These are the small East African goats. They are very good. We have to protect them. And then the cattle. These are very rare breeds, which are found in more than 5 countries. Uganda is one of them. So we have to protect them. If we don't, they will disappear, and then it will be a problem. So we need to have a way, other than the biology, but also through the digital form, to do the mapping and to track their numbers and so forth. So this is where now partnerships come in. These are some of the programs we do through the local ones. We improve them, and you have that bull. That bull can go up to about 1,000 kilos. So even if you sell one, you earn more, and therefore you're able to change lives. There are some of these, the pig production. They can be very fast and improve. So we don't look at cattle, we also look at pigs. We also look at chicken. This one, within four months, it can be that size. The one on the, I don't know where you are from. For me, on my side, is on the right. I don't know which side is it. 4 months, you can be able to change life. Now, these ones are got from, they have bred some specific line from India, but they are now being multiplied in these developing countries, like Uganda is one of them, Tanzania and so forth. So that's the Kurila, we have Rainbow, we have Sasso, and so forth, others. And of course, selecting the breeders, preparing them, training them, so that, so we need to have a way, like now ICT comes very important, is that you can't go everywhere. If you have ICT platforms with the easy to understand manual, we share them with the farmer. So the multiplicity, I can be training somebody in Nigeria when I'm in Uganda using this platform. So changing lives and impacting more. This is what we need to do. Retooling the AI technicians, because they are everywhere across border. So engagement with the local government, the district staff, and distributing them and visiting them and giving them technical backstopping and screening for diseases so that they are healthy and they are able to impact, and more field work in terms of checking if they're okay before you do the hormone and the synchronization. And also in the lab work, we have to prepare some of the technicians so that they do actually the right thing and they can guarantee quality. Because over time, some of this genetic material, they lose condition and quality. And you're able to see, for example, that is spermatozoa, you see whether they are moving or they are dead. If they are dead, fertility will be very low. And that is the synchronization program. We coordinate these efforts, tool them, and give. And then that is our minister. You can see this side is myself, and that's our minister for agriculture. And we tell him, and we encourage him, we go with him to the field. And we also have regional visits so that we have on-spot and on-site visits. And we also, if you see, the lady in pink is the Speaker of the National Assembly. We also engage them. Because for you to get the requisite support, you have to engage the political leaders. And I got that from our president, Dr. Koro, when she really engaged the governor. So we said, let's now benchmark. So in WAAD, we are really learning a lot. So we encourage, and in one of the sessions, and that's our Minister of State in red for the animal industry. And we think this, and the members of parliament, we engage them, we share with them, they understand. Because the livelihood of the community is key to them. So you can see I'm there in the right, on the right corner. Exactly. So we're engaging, and that is the impact which WAAD is having out there. And this could be of scale to have more impact. And more work in the lab, and those are some of the trainees, retooling them and scaling them. Now, for us, what we want is that is manual. If we have ICT platform to help these communities better, and I think that's our minister passing out these technicians, and field outreach. We even work with the Army. When there was a presentation from the veterans here, our presenter, you see, the Army is there. Serving Army officers, we engage them in agriculture because they are disciplined, they are committed and hardworking. So that is the kind of innovations we have put to involve the Army in wealth creation program, and people respect them. And the engagement with the community and stakeholders, and not only stakeholders, you can see one people, different what? Colors. One people, what? Different colors and different diversity. And also high level, like you have done here with the governors and senators, We also had the engagement with the FAO Director General so that we make sure that the press is involved, they publish this work and disseminate these results so that it is not a monopoly of just the technicians and the scientists only. It is a responsibility and partners and so forth. So I call on you when you come to Uganda, you should be able to visit some of these files to still upscale issues of cybersecurity, issues of ICT, and issues of disseminating these knowledges to others. We also promptly engage the farmers more seriously, and more importantly, I want to say is that some of this infrastructure, after a period of time, so we need to transform them. Now, like if you see the below phase, that is how they are, but through this engagement, you see how the animals are now happy. By some of those infrastructure, we need to build partnership together and see how this can help to change their lives. Media publicity, we don't forget. We engage seriously with the media. You can see government allocates, prepare, and so forth and so forth. The media, the local media, the press, and so forth, we engage them. So in essence, the issue of mindset change, the issue of building partnership, the issue of patriotism, the issue of ICT is very key. And we think that with the collaboration in terms of research and development with the WAAD, we can be able to make inroads in changing life from the perspective of animal breeding, animal genetics, and improvement. So that is the dream destination for WAAD, and we can change more by learning from each other, by sharing, by networking. And I want to thank you very much for listening.